Happy One Web Day. I'm Dave Chakrabarti. I work with the Chicago Technology Cooperative, and we build websites for nonprofits.
Excellent. How did you get involved in technology?
Oh, I've been doing nonprofit technology work since about 1999, mostly volunteering website development for nonprofits. And it's just something I've gotten more and more interested in, so I've been doing it for a while now. I was an AmeriCorps Vista volunteer with Michael Miranda, who's currently interviewing me, a couple of years ago, and that was the first time I was a full-time nonprofit techie, and I've kind of been in that sector ever since.
Do you have a special affinity for the nonprofit sector?
I'd say yes. Never really looked back since I stopped doing corporate web development. Mission-driven web development is really, I guess, what fascinates me and inspires me at this point. So that's really what I focused on for a while.
So why don't you talk about your current position? Maybe your kind of career path may be a model for other people to follow,
Okay.
and I think it's interesting.
Okay. Well, my current position, I'm a project manager for the Chicago Technology Cooperative. So I do a lot of client meetings. I talk to a lot of folks about their current websites and about what they would like to get out of their websites. We talk about ways we might make that happen. We use the Drupal open source content management system pretty much exclusively at this point. We do a lot of development for it. I find it interesting. I like talking to nonprofits. I like looking at their needs from a more strategic point of view and figuring out solutions that may make sense for them. My career path has definitely not been very ordinary. I started at Haverford College as a full-time college student doing nonprofit tech on the side. I later became a full-time corporate web developer for health insurance and mortgage companies as a consultant. So we built internet marketing campaigns and web presence for a lot of for-profit businesses, basically. And then I absolutely hated it, so I decided that I would try nonprofit tech. So I went from being a .com kind of startup employee to being a full-time volunteer with the AmeriCorps Vista program for CTCnet Chicago, which was, as I said before, was my first time being a full-time volunteer in the nonprofit sector. And yeah, and from then on, I've pretty much worked in the nonprofit sector ever since.
So as I know you and we've been friends for a while, I know that you're an avid motorcyclist.
Yes.
So you've been taking some long trips, and I wonder, are you going without internet during those times? And maybe you can talk about, is that a time to get away from technology, or do you carry technology with you?
That's actually interesting. I usually do carry technology with me. This last trip that I took in May, I rode a motorcycle from Calcutta around the Himalayas. And I took my mom's Asus EE PC, which I had just bought her just prior to leaving on that trip. It's also interesting because she's taken classes on how to use Windows-based desktops and laptops, and she's always hated them. She's found them very non-intuitive. She's never been able to send an email by herself without someone watching over her shoulder telling her what to do. The Asus is a Linux-based laptop that uses an icon-based navigation system, which is really, the interface is more reminiscent of a cell phone than of a desktop computer. And my mother got it without people having to show her how to do things. She can send email, she can do Skype video, she can force me to point my laptop around my room so she can see how messy it is here in Chicago. So it's interesting. But yes, I took that laptop with me. I was able to find internet access at various places. Sometimes it was dial-up. Frequently there was no access at all. But I like to stay connected if I can, where I can.
I'd like to hear insights, the technology in India and versus the States. Is there a leapfrogging that's going on? There seems to be a lot of exciting things that are happening there we're behind the curve on, maybe.
Yeah, I'd say there's a huge leapfrogging that's already happened. So this trip when I went back to India, prior to my going back, I decided that I needed internet access set up in India so that I could get online and stay connected to work and things while I was there. I was able to get a DSL connection set up in India within 3 days without my physically being in the country. This is me calling up a local ISP from the United States and saying, hey, here's my parents' address. My parents know nothing about technology. There's no computer in the house. I need you to go over, set up internet, make sure it's tested and working before I show up. 3 days later, a friend of mine called and said that he had gone to my house with a laptop and tested it. Everything was up and running. Everything was fine. And I wouldn't be billed until I actually showed up and started using it. By comparison, Comcast, the last time I needed to transfer an account from my roommate's name to my name, I was told that it would take 8 weeks. and that it would require at least a 2-week service interruption in between. We got Speakeasy Internet set up. It wasn't really Speakeasy's fault, but because AT&T has a monopoly on DSL in Chicago, AT&T took 1.5 months to get the line installed. So my internet access in India was actually set up faster than my internet access back here in Chicago, with the 2 major companies that currently provide internet access in Chicago. So I say there's definitely a leapfrog, meaning it's already happened. Cell phone technology in India is already far, far, far ahead of the United States. If I had to just make a wild guess, I'd say we're at least 5 years behind where India is right now, just in terms of what's available with cell phone infrastructure. So it's kind of worrying that most Americans aren't thinking about that or aware of it, I suppose.
So where do you want to be in 5 years?
That's a very good question. I don't know where I want to be in 5 years. I would like to be doing the work that I'm doing now in 5 years. Whether that's here or in India or somewhere else entirely, I'm not sure. I've really gotten used to Chicago as a base, so I think I'll probably be in Chicago, but I'll still be traveling, and I've got a London to Calcutta motorcycle ride kind of in the planning phases, so I'm sure I'll be around.
Well, I thank you for your involvement with NetTuesday Chicago, and I'm sure we'll be interviewing you again.
Yep, thanks a lot for interviewing me.